कहमो बेड़ाको गला के गोसाई करुणा चरण सुखी कहमो बेड़ाको गला के गोसाई करुणा चरण सुखी न दिले न दिया दरसन दिया न दिले न दिया दरसन दिया रहिले दुआरे ताकी रहिले दुआरे ताकी कमा आँखी के साथे आउछारे भेटी देखी कमा आँखी के साथे आउछारे भेटी देखी कमा आँखी के
मणिमा मणिमा देउळ दुआर पिताई मणिमा देउळ दुआर पिताई जीवितयर तिर लोटाई जीवितयर तिर लोटाई मणिमा देउळ दुआर पिताई देउळ दुआर पिताई संसार जीवन आनीची साउटे संसार जीवन आनीची साउटे दुखर फुलटी दुखर फुलटी दुखर फुलटी दुखर फुलटी अंजलि भरी कमल चरणे अंजलि भरी कमल चरणे भेटिबी मनर आशा मेटाई भेटिबी मनर आशा मेटाई मणिमा मणिमा देउळ दुआर पिताई देउळ दुआर पिताई सकल मुखरे तुमे पद्म मुख सकल मुखरे तुमे पद्म मुख सकल दुखरे तुमे का सुख सकल दुखरे तुमे का सुख जुग पद जुग पूजी तुम नाम भजी पद जुग पूजी तुम नाम भजी साराटी जीवन देवी साराटी जीवन देवी बिताई मणिमा ମଣିମା ଦେଉଳ ଥାଇ ଦେଉଳ ଦୁଆର ଝିଅ ପିଠାଇ ବେସୁର ବୀଣାରେ ସୁର ଦେବ ତୁମେ ବେସୁର ବୀଣାରେ ସୁର ଦେବ ତୁମେ ଗାଇବି ଗୀତ ତବ ଶୁଭ ନାମେ ଗାଇବି ଗୀତ ତବ ଶୁଭ ନାମେ আশ প্রেমময় কল্যাণ বরসে আশ প্রেমময় কল্যাণ বরসে মৌলা মরমে হস ফুটাই মৌলা মনরে হস ফুটাই মণিমা মণিমা দেউল দুয়ার প্রিয় পিঠাই দেউল দুয়ার প্রিয় পিঠাই তুজি বিপয়র বিরল ঠাই তুজি বিপয়র বিরল ঠাই মণিমা মণিমা দেউল দুয়ার প্রিয় পিঠাই দেউল দুয়ার প্রিয় পিঠাই মণিমা মণিমা জানে মিলিব কি নাহি এ জানে বেড়া মিলিব কি নাহি আসরে সরবে গুরু পদ সেবা পাই আসরে সরবে গুরু পদ সেবা পাই অচিরত এ সংসার কে জানি কেবে অচিরত এ সংসার কে জানি কেবে চাকরা শিব জীবা পাই জনা চাকরা শিব জীবা পাই জনা নাহি আসরে সরবে গুরু পদ সেবা পাই রে আসরে সরবে গুরু পদ সেবা পাই রে বেড়হু মনরে গুরু সত্য গুরু নিত্য বেড়হু মনরে গুরু সত্য গুরু নিত্য গুরু সাক্ষাৎ পরম ব্রহ্ম গুরু প্রাণ সাই রে গুরু সাক্ষাৎ পরম ব্রহ্ম গুরু প্রাণ সাই রে আসরে সরবে গুরু পদ সেবা পাই রে আসরে সরবে গুরু পদ সেবা পাই রে। ব্যথিত তাপিত জন কারণ একাতে নাম। ব্যথিত তাপিত জন কারণ একাতে নাম। অখণ্ড মণ্ডলাকারে চরাচরে খাই। অখণ্ড
বন্ধন মোচন পূজ্যবর গুণহীন শেষ গুণাধিপতি ভব ভীরু জনে সত তম্বরদ প্রণমামি গুরু শিব কল্পতরু প্রণমামি গুরু শিব কল্পতরু।
জয় গুরু। হে মহামহিমা ভুবন মোহন নন্দন বন্দন তুম পদ কঞ্জে প্রণতি ঘেনা মম। বন্দন তুম পদ কঞ্জে প্রণতি ঘেনা মম। হে মহামহিমা ভুবন মোহন নন্দন বন্দন তুম পদ কঞ্জে প্রণতি ঘেনা মম। বন্দন তুম পদ কঞ্জে প্রণতি ঘেনা মম। ভকতর প্রাণে দিয় জ্ঞান দীপ জলাই। ভকতর প্রাণে দিয় জ্ঞান দীপ জলাই। হৃদ সরসিরে দিয় শতদল ফুটাই। হৃদ সরসিরে দিয় শতদল ফুটাই। তুমি ভববন্ধন বিমোচন। তুমি ভববন্ধন বিমোচন। হে বিশ্বপ্রণতি ঢালে আহে বিশ্ববন্দন। হে বিশ্ব প্রণতি ঢালে আহে বিশ্ববন্দন। বন্দন তুম পদ কঞ্জে প্রণতি ঘেনা মম। বন্দন তুম পদ কঞ্জে প্রণতি ঘেনা মম। হে মহামহিমা ভুবন মোহন নন্দন। হে মহামহিমা ভুবন মোহন নন্দন বন্দন তুম পদ কঞ্জে প্রণতি ঘেনা মম। বন্দন তুম পদ কঞ্জে প্রণতি ঘেনা মম। ছন্দা পদে कर कामना सदा पदे बंधा मन पूर्ण कर कामना कुंचित के सामुदशा छामुरे करे जना कुंचित के सामुदशा छामुरे करे जना करुणा कर हे कृपा निधान करुणा कर हे कृपा निधान शरणागत भक्त हृदत चंदन शरणागत भक्त हृदत चंदन वंदन तुम पद कंजे प्रणति के मम वंदन तुम पद कंजे प्रणति के मम हे महामहिमा भुवन मोहन नंदन हे महामहिमा भुवन मोहन नंदन वंदन तुम पद कंजे प्रणति के मम वंदन तुम पद कंजे प्रणति के मम रक्त रंगे रंजित शोभा तुम चरण रक्त रंगे रंजित शोभा तुम चरण कटी तटे विमंडित श्वेत कुंज बसन कटी तटे विमंडित श्वेत कुंज बसन कपाळे शोभई गंध चंदन कपाळे शोभई गंध चंदन निखिल अलकाळी करे गंध मंडन निखिल अलकाळी करे गंध मंडन वंदन धूम पद कंजे प्रणति के मम वंदन तुम पद कंजे प्रणति के मम हे महामहिमा भुवन मोहन नंदन हे महामहिमा भुवन मोहन नंदन वंदन तुम पद कंजे प्रणति के मम वंदन तुम पद कंजे प्रणति के मम कोटि शशि प्रभाजिनी बरा भय मूरति कोटि शशि प्रभाजिनी बरा भय मूरति दुस्तर भव सागरु उद्धार हे श्रीपति दुस्तर भव सागरु उद्धार हे श्रीपति बसुथी से पदे आदि शरण बसुथी से पदे आदि शरण बसुथी से पदे आदि शरण आत्मज्ञान कर दान धन्य हे जीवन आत्मज्ञान कर दान धन्य हे जीवन नंद तुम पद कंजे प्रणति के मम वंदन तुम पद कंजे प्रणति के मम हे बंधन तुम पद पंजे प्रणति घेन मम बंधन तुम पद पंजे प्रणति घेन मम बंधन तुम पद पंजे प्रणति घेन मम।
जय गुरु। सद्गुरु स्वामी निगमानंद उपदेशामृत, Chapter 19, page 178, to married women. Across teachings. To married women, fill up your heart with love of a mother. Feminine lust is the remnant of a devil. Hence, the holy image of God can hardly be visualized in the absence of motherly love. I bless that loving feelings of a mother blossom in you, merge eternally with the Supreme Mother. The duty of a woman is to take care of her husband and other members of the family. You have little time for sadhan bhajan, hence cultivate the habit to recite God's nama. You need not perform any difficult and prolonged sadhana. You simply surrender and depend completely on Sri Gurudev as the deepest core of your heart. Also remember that husband is the guru of the wife. It is the supreme duty of a wife to obey and observe the instructions of her husband with body and soul. When you depend on Sri Gurudeva, consider your husband as the physical form of Guru Brahma. Then only your glorious birth as a woman will attain perfection. In this world, beginning from the beggar maid to the queen, all are prone to similar wants and deprivation. Such wants are never wiped out unless one reaches the realm of bhava. Learn to love God and His creation. Develop and illuminate your motherhood. You will see the world as the urn of nectar of infinite love. Mother, joys and sorrows of the world are the sport of Maya and the luring image of ignorance. On forgetting his own self, man often laughs or laments due to the spell of Maya. Notwithstanding it, man does not resort to conscience. He exults like a beast in the presence of flesh. Again, he is dying in the fire of discontentment in the absence of such physical enjoyment. He is running to all directions seeking happiness, but starting from a poor woman to the luxurious queen, all are suffering due to the unsatiated desire and longing. The condition of man and woman in this world is similar to that of patients suffering from discontentment due to cries for further water even after drinking enough of it. They don't know where happiness exists. Happiness does not lie outside. Happiness does not lie outside. It is within. It is in sacrifice of yoga. Happiness emanating from external enjoyment is adulterated with vices of attachment or infatuation. To realize the self of God in contemplation is indeed pure and sacred happiness. Joys and sorrows constitute the substratum of life. When the householder lives with children and grandchildren, he should not think he should lead a life without sorrow. It is a remote possibility. From the prehistoric time till today, no one, even the rishis, ever remain in unceasing joy. They also suffered severe setbacks and torments like ordinary people in this world. It is out and out improbable in the mortal world. Hence, you will have to suffer if you aspire for the impossible. How much are we ashamed to speak of the ephemeral joy when we think Sita, Saibya, and Anusya, who have suffered beyond normal endurance. Hence, you pray for true knowledge with which you can understand and enjoy the earthly Leela as a spectator. In this world, try to retain the knowledge of self. when performing your part in this great drama of existence. Joy Guru.
जय गुरु. नीलाचल सरस्वती संघ पुरी, America Saraswata Sangha, 834th Sangha Puja Session Report. Date and time October 9, 2022, 7:15 a.m. to 11:55 a.m. Eastern Time. Kalya Yukta, Rasmi Pandama and Priyambadama. Adhivasa Puja, October 8, 2022, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Adhivasa Puja was held at Nigama Smriti Mandira at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It was attended by some bhais and maas at Smriti Mandira and some via phone. Vishwajit Bhai sang Bandana. After the Bandana, a few topics from Nigama Upadesa and the fourth part of Leela Prasanga were read. Then Priyambadama invited Sri Sri Thakura, bhais, maas and young aspirants to attend the Sangha Puja scheduled for 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time the next morning. The session concluded with the prayer Vanchakalpa Tarudeva, followed by Jai Guru Mahanama Kirtan. After the session, Bhoga was offered to Sri Sri Thakura. Bhais, maas and young aspirants were served with prasada. First session, October 9, 2022, 7:15 a.m. to 8:45 a.m. Eastern Time. The morning session of the puja started at 7:15 a.m. Eastern Time with the singing of Pratiksha songs, Kahara Adaro Bola Daka and Antara Mandira Bharichi by Uditama and Nihar Bhai respectively. During that time, all the devotees joined the puja either at Nigama Smriti Mandira or via teleconference. At 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time, Sanujit Bhai performed Arati. Then Vishwajit Bhai led the singing of Bandana, Bambai Guru Charana and Stotra Vandana. Raja Bhai led the reading of Parichaya Patra, followed by prayers for Sammilani and Asana Mandira Nitya Puja. Then Prabir Bhai read Vandana and Prathana from Sangha Sevaka Volume 43, Part 1, and Amritama sang the Prathana Sangita. Due to some issues, Prabir Bhai could not continue. Therefore, Aswini Bhai read Prathana Karinka Prati on behalf of Prabir Bhai. After that, Sonali Sama read verse 114 from Sri Sri Guru Gita. Then Rasmima invited Sri Sri Thakura for the Balya Bhoga and all bhais, maas and young aspirants for Balya Prasad and to attend the second session of Sangha Puja. The first session of Sangha Puja was concluded with Jai Guru Mahanama Kirtana. After the first session, Bhoga was offered to Sri Sri Thakura. Bhais, maas and young aspirants were served with prasad. Second session, October 9, 2022, 9:45 a.m. to 11:55 a.m. Eastern Time. The second session of the puja started at 9:45 a.m. with the singing of Avahana songs. Bohudinu Asamura Rahichi Manare by Vrindavan Bhai, followed by Antara Devata Asahe Sudha Singhasane Vasa by Niluma. This was followed by Pranamagana and opening of the curtain at Nata Mandira. Anjalima sang Bandana, Bandana Ghena Priyatama Taba Sundara Pada Prante. After that, Soumya Bhai read Nigama Upadesa, page 178, about female devotees. Meeta Baima read minutes of the last Sangha Puja held on October 2, 2022. Then Biswa Bhai read Sri Sri Thakur Mahatmaya, page 31 to 35, and Vishwajit Behra Bhai summarized it. Then Smita Baima sang Prathana Sangita, Mona Katha Sunu Morama. Thereafter, Pranabes Bhai read Sansar Pathe, Part 1. This was followed by the question and answer session by Braja Bhai. Then the young aspirant session was started with the Prathana Sangita, Kahini Kebemo Tumaku Thakura, sang by Aryan. Vedamatima led the young aspirant session with gathering the attendance of the young aspirants. Then Yukta, Rasmima and Priyambadama did their Bhava Vinimaya Seva, followed by the invitation for Madhyana Bhoga and evening puja. In the absence of Aaron, Vinay Bhai extended the invitation to Sri Sri Thakur, all bhais, maas and young aspirants for the next young aspirant session. and Ashwini Bhai invited them to the next Sangha Puja scheduled to be held on October 16, 2022. After that, Priyambadama prayed for forgiveness from Thakura, all Bhais, Maas and young aspirants for any irregularity in Seva. The session concluded with Biday Prathana sung by Sivani Mahantima. The curtain was closed at Mata Mandira with Jayaguru Nama Kirtana and Pranama. Biswajit Bhai took the attendance of all Bhais and Maas present for the puja. Madhyana Bhoga was offered to Sri Sri Thakura, followed by Prasada Sevana by the devotees. Attendance sheet is available in the member section of the AMSA's website. Sri Sri Thakura Charanaskrita, Yukta, Rasmi Kondama and Priyambadama. Jai Guru.
ଜୟ ଗୁରୁ ଶ୍ରୀ ଠାକୁର ମହାତ୍ମ୍ୟ ଗଲାଥର ଟିକେ ପଢିଥିଲି କହୁଛି ଯେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ସେ ଚିଠି ଦେଇଥିଲେ ବିହାରୀ ଭାଇ ଯେ ଏଇ ଆଶ୍ରମରେ ରହିବେ। ଠାକୁର ତାଙ୍କୁ ଲେଖିଲେ ଯେ ମଠରେ ସନ୍ନ୍ୟାସ ମାନେ ସନ୍ନ୍ୟାସୀ ମାନେ ରହୁଛନ୍ତି ଏବଂ ସ୍ତ୍ରୀ ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କୁ ଗ୍ରହଣ କରାଯାଉନି ଆଉ ପରିବାରର 2 ଜଣଙ୍କୁ ମଧ୍ୟ ସ୍ଥାନ ଦିଆଯାଉନି। ତେଣୁ ସେ କହିଲେ ଯଦି ଘରେ ରୁହ ଯଦି କିଛି ବିଚାର କରିପାରୁନ ତାହେଲେ ଅପେକ୍ଷା କର ମୁଁ କେତେବେଳେ ଆସିବି ତାପରଠୁ ପଢିବା। ପତ୍ର ପାଇଁ ସ୍ଥିର କଲି ଯେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ସହିତ ଦେଖା କରି ଯାହା ହୁଏ କରିବି। ସେଥିପାଇଁ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଠାକୁର କୁଆଡେ ଯିବେ କି ନାହିଁ ଏବଂ ଦୟାକରି ଆମ ଏଠାରେ ପଦାର୍ପଣ କରିପାରିବେ କି ନାହିଁ ଇତ୍ୟାଦି ବିଷୟରେ ଜାଣିବା ପାଇଁ ଲେଖିବାରୁ ନିମ୍ନ ମତେ ଉତ୍ତର ପାଇଲି। ସାରସ୍ୱତ ମଠ 8/8/25 ବଙ୍ଗାବ୍ଦ କଲ୍ୟାଣ ବରେଛୁ ପରମ ଶୁଭାଶୀ ରାସ୍ତା ନିଃଶେଷ। ତୁମର ଚିଠି ପାଇ ଅବଗତ ହେଲି। ଆମେ ମଠରୁ 11 ତାରିଖ ଦିନ ବାହାରି 12 ତାରିଖ ଗୁରୁବାର ଦିନ ଆସାମ ମେଲରେ ସାତଗାଁଓ ଷ୍ଟେସନରେ ସନ୍ଧ୍ୟା ପରେ ପହଞ୍ଚିବୁ। ସେ ଅଞ୍ଚଳରେ 2-1 ଦିନ ଅପେକ୍ଷା କରି କୁମିଲା ଯିବୁ। ଯଦି ସୁବିଧା ହୁଏ ତେବେ ସେଦିନ ତୁମ ସାତଗାଁଓ ଷ୍ଟେସନରେ ଉପସ୍ଥିତ ରହିବ ଏବଂ ଗଗନବାବୁ ପ୍ରଭୃତି ଭକ୍ତମାନଙ୍କୁ ଏ ସମ୍ବାଦ ଜଣାଇବ। ଯଦି ତୁମ ଅଞ୍ଚଳକୁ ନେବା ପାଇଁ ଇଚ୍ଛା ଥାଏ ତେବେ ତାର ବନ୍ଦୋବସ୍ତ କରିବ। ଯଦି 12 ତାରିଖ ଦିନ ଷ୍ଟେସନରେ ଉପସ୍ଥିତ ହୋଇନପାର ତେବେ ତା ପରଦିନ ଭୁବନବୀର ଗ୍ରାମରେ ନାପିତବାଡି ସୁନାମଣି ଶିଳଙ୍କରେ ସନ୍ଧାନ କରିବ। ଶୁଭ ତୁମେମାନେ ଆଶୀର୍ବାଦ ଜାଣିବ। ଏଠି ପାଇବା ମାତ୍ରେ ଶରତ ସାଧୁଙ୍କୁ ନେଇ ବାବୁଙ୍କୁ ନେଇ ସୁନାମଣିଙ୍କ ଗୃହକୁ ଗଲି। ଯାଇ ଦେଖିଲି ସେ ଘରେ ନାହାନ୍ତି ଏବଂ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କର ଆଗମନ ସମ୍ପର୍କରେ ତାଙ୍କର ଘର ଲୋକ କେହି ଜାଣନ୍ତି ନାହିଁ। ଅସ୍ଥିର ହୋଇ ଷ୍ଟେସନ ଅଭିମୁଖରେ ଯାତ୍ରା କରିବାରୁ ରାସ୍ତାରେ ସୁନାମଣିଙ୍କୁ ଦେଖି ସବୁ କଥା କହିବାରୁ ସେ ଅବାକ ହୋଇ ଆମ ଆଡକୁ ଚାହିଁ ରହିଲେ। ଅର୍ଥାତ୍ ଠାକୁର ଯେ ଆଜି ତାଙ୍କ ଘରକୁ ଆସୁଛନ୍ତି ସେ ସମ୍ବନ୍ଧରେ କୌଣସି ସମ୍ବାଦ ସେ ପାଇନାହାନ୍ତି। ଛାଡ଼, ସେତେବେଳକୁ ଭାବିବାକୁ ବା ବ୍ୟବସ୍ଥା କରିବାକୁ ସମୟ ନଥିଲା। 3 ଜଣ ଷ୍ଟେସନକୁ ଦୌଡ଼ିଲୁ। ସେତେବେଳକୁ ରାତି ହୋଇଗଲାଣି। 4-5 ମାଇଲ ଚାଲି ଚାଲି ଷ୍ଟେସନ ଯିବାକୁ ହବ। କିଛି ବାଟ ଯାଇ ଗୋଟିଏ ବିପଦର ସମ୍ମୁଖୀନ ହେଲୁ। ଗୋଟିଏ ଛୋଟ ନଦୀ ତୀରରେ ଭୀଷଣ ଅନ୍ଧକାର ମଧ୍ୟରେ ଜଣେ କୁଲି କଲେରା ରୋଗାକ୍ରାନ୍ତ ହୋଇ ଉଲଗ୍ନ ଅବସ୍ଥାରେ ପଡି ଛଟପଟ ହେଉଛି। ହୁଏତ ଶିଆଳ କୁକୁର ଖାଇଯିବେ। ନିକଟରେ ଯାଇ ଦେଖିଲୁ ଉତ୍ଥାନ ଶକ୍ତି ରହିତ। ତଥାପି ଆମେ ଆମର କାନ୍ଧ ଧରି ଚାଲିପାରିବ କି ନାହିଁ ପଚାରିବାରୁ ସେ ମୁଣ୍ଡ ହଲାଇ ଅକ୍ଷମତା ଜଣାଇଲା। ବହନ କରି ନେବାର ସମ୍ଭାବନା ମଧ୍ୟ ନାହିଁ। ପୁନଶ୍ଚ କଲରା ରୋଗୀକୁ ସବୁ ଗୃହସ୍ଥ କାମ ଦେବେ ନାହିଁ। କର୍ତ୍ତବ୍ୟ ବିମୂଢ ହୋଇ ମନେ ମନେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ଜଣାଇଲି, ଏ ତୁମର କୌଣସି ପରୀକ୍ଷା ନା କଣ? ସମୟ ନାହିଁ, ତେଣୁ ଅନନ୍ୟୋପାୟ ହୋଇ ଗ୍ରାମ ଭିତର ଯାଇ ଲୋକଙ୍କୁ ଏହି ସମ୍ବାଦ ଦେଇ ଆଗେଇ ଚାଲିଲୁ। ଷ୍ଟେସନରେ ପହଞ୍ଚିବାର ଅଳ୍ପ ସମୟ ପରେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କର ଗାଡି ଆସିଲା। ଚିଦାନନ୍ଦ ଓ ହରିଦାସଙ୍କ ସହିତ ଠାକୁର ଗାଡିରୁ ଓହ୍ଲାଇ ଜାଣିଲେ ଯେ ସୁନାମଣି ପତ୍ର ନ ପାଇବାରୁ କୌଣସି ବନ୍ଦୋବସ୍ତ ହୋଇପାରିନି। ସବୁ ବିଷୟ ବୁଝି ଠାକୁର ନୀରବ। କିନ୍ତୁ ଚିଦାନନ୍ଦ ଆମ ପ୍ରତି ଦୋଷାରୋପ କରି କହିବାକୁ ଲାଗିଲେ, ତୁମେ କାହିଁକି ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ଓହ୍ଲାଇଲ? ଗାଡିରେ ଥିବା ଅବସ୍ଥାରେ କହିଲ ନାହିଁ କାହିଁକି ଠାକୁର ଓହ୍ଲାନ୍ତୁ ନାହିଁ? ଆମେ ନିଜକୁ ଦୋଷୀ ସାବ୍ୟସ୍ତ କରି ଅପ୍ରତିଭ ହୋଇ ନୀରବରେ ଓ ନତମୁଖରେ ଠିଆ ହୋଇ ରହିବାର ଦେଖି ଆମକୁ ଅଭୟ ଦେବା ପାଇଁ ଠାକୁର ଚିଦାନନ୍ଦଙ୍କୁ ଧମକ ଦେଇ କହିଲେ, କଣ ହେଲା? ଆମେ ସନ୍ନ୍ୟାସୀ ଲୋକ କେତେ ରାତି କେତେ ଗଛ ତଳେ କେତେ ଜଙ୍ଗଲରେ କଟାଇକି ଆଜି ଆଉ ଗୋଟାଏ ରାତି ଷ୍ଟେସନରେ ବସି କଟାଇ ପାରିବି ନାହିଁ। ଏହି ସମୟରେ ଅଯାଚିତ ଭାବରେ ଷ୍ଟେସନ ମାଷ୍ଟର ଆସି କହିଲେ ତାଙ୍କର ପାର୍ସଲ ଘରେ 3 ଜଣଙ୍କୁ ସ୍ଥାନ ଦେଇପାରିବେ। ମୁଁ ଖୁବ୍ ହୃଷ୍ଟ ଚିତ୍ତରେ କୃତଜ୍ଞତା ପ୍ରକାଶ ପୂର୍ବକ ଠାକୁର ଓ ଭକ୍ତ 2 ଜଣଙ୍କର ବିଛଣାପତ୍ର ନିର୍ଦ୍ଦିଷ୍ଟ କକ୍ଷକୁ ନେଇ ରଖିବା ଦେଖି ଠାକୁର ପଚାରିଲେ, ତୁମେ କେଉଁଠି ରହିବ? ମୁଁ କହିଲି ବାହାରେ ବସି ରହିବୁ। ସେ କଥା ଶୁଣି ରାଗି ଯାଇ କହିଲେ, ଏକ ରାତି ଖୋଲା ଜାଗାରେ ତୁମେ 3 ଜଣ ବସି ରହିବ ଆଉ ଆମେ 3 ଜଣ ଭିତରେ ରହିବୁ? ସେ କଥା ହେବ ନାହିଁ। ଶୀଘ୍ର ବିଛଣାପତ୍ର ବାହାରକୁ ନେଇ ଆସ। ଅପ୍ରୀତିକର ହେଲେ ମଧ୍ୟ କଥା ଉପରେ କଥା କହିବାର ସାହସ ନଥିବାରୁ ବିଛଣା ପତ୍ର ଖୋଲା ୱେଟିଂ ରୁମକୁ ନେଇ ଆସିଲି। ହରିଦାସ ଭାଇ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ 2ଟି ଅଧିକ କମ୍ବଳ ବିଛାଇଥିଲେ, କିନ୍ତୁ ଅନ୍ୟମାନଙ୍କର କମ ପଡିବ ଦେଖି ଠାକୁର ଗୋଇଠା ମାରି ବିଛଣାକୁ ଉଠାଇଦେଲେ। ଠାକୁର ହେଲେ ମଧ୍ୟ କୁକୁର ମାନଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ ଭାବିବାକୁ ହୁଏ। ଶୀତର ଆଧିକ୍ୟ ହେତୁ ନିଦ୍ରା ଦେଇ କାହାକୁ ହେଲେ ସ୍ପର୍ଶ କରିପାରିଲେ ନାହିଁ। ପ୍ରଭାତ ହେବାରୁ ଠାକୁର ପ୍ରସ୍ତାବ କଲେ, ଏଥର ତୁମ ଅଞ୍ଚଳକୁ ଯିବା ଦରକାର ନାହିଁ। ଚାରିଆଡେ ଇନଫ୍ଲୁଏଞ୍ଜା ବ୍ୟାପିଛି, ଲୋକଙ୍କର ମନ ବି ଭଲ ନାହିଁ। ମୁଁ ମଧ୍ୟ ଗୋଟିଏ ବିଶେଷ କାମରେ କୁମିଲା ଯାଉଛି। ଆଗାମୀ ଫାଲଗୁନ ମାସରେ ତୁମର ପୁଅକୁ ନେଇ ମଠକୁ ଯାଅ, ଆଉ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ କେଉଁଠୁ ଭୋଗରୁ ଟିକେ ଯୋଗାଡ଼ କର, ଖାଇଦେଇ ଗାଡିରେ ବସିବି। ଷ୍ଟେସନ ଦୋକାନ ଗୋଟିଏ ଅଛି ସତ, କିନ୍ତୁ ସେଠାରେ ପ୍ରଧାନ ଭୋଗ ପାଇଁ ଯାଇ ପାଇଲୁ ବହୁଦିନରୁ ବିକ୍ରି ନ ହୋଇଥିବା କେଇ ମୁଠା ହରଡ଼ ଡାଲି ଓ ଅତି ଶକ୍ତ କେତେଗୋଟି ମୂଳା। ଯାହା ହେଉ ଅଧାଶେର ଗାଈ ଦୁଧ ପାଇ କିଞ୍ଚିତ ଆଶ୍ୱସ୍ତ ହେଲୁ। ଷ୍ଟେସନର ଅନତି ଦୂରରେ ଗୋଟିଏ ବ୍ରାହ୍ମଣ ଘରକୁ ଯାଇ ସେଠାରେ ପାକ କରିବାର ସ୍ଥାନ, ହାଣ୍ଡି ଓ ଜାଳେଣୀ ଯୋଗାଡ଼ କରିଦେଲୁ। କାଠ ଆମକୁ ହିଁ କିଣି ନେବାକୁ ହେଲା। ସେଦିନର ଭୋଗ ବିଷୟ ବର୍ଣ୍ଣନା କରିବାକୁ ଯାଇ ନିରସ୍ତ ହେଉଛି। ସେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କର କର୍ମ ଭୋଗ। ଭୋଗ ପରେ ଷ୍ଟେସନ ଯିବା ସମୟରେ ଠାକୁର କହିଲେ, ପଇତା ନ ଦେଖିଲେ ଏଠାକାର ବ୍ରାହ୍ମଣ ଚିହ୍ନିବା କଷ୍ଟକର। ବାଟରେ ଯାଉ ଯାଉ ମତେ ପଚାରିଲେ, ତୁମେ ନା କଣ ଚାକିରି ଛାଡି ଦେଇଛ? କହିଲି ହଁ। ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ କଲେ କାହିଁକି? କହିଲି ଶରୀରର ଆଳସ୍ୟ। ରହିଯାଇ କହିଲେ, ଆମେ କର୍ମଯୋଗୀ, କର୍ମ ହିଁ ଆମର ଅବଲମ୍ବନ। ଆଳସ୍ୟ କୋଡ଼ିଆମି ତମ ଗୁଣର ଧର୍ମ। ମୁଁ ଆଉ କିଛି କହିଲି। ମନେ ମନେ ଭାବିଲି, ମୁଁ ଚାକିରି ନ ଛାଡିବାକୁ ବଦ୍ଧପରିକର ହୋଇ ମଧ୍ୟ ନ ଛାଡି ରହିପାରିଲି ନାହିଁ। ତଥାପି ମୋର ପୁରୁଷକାର ଏଥିପାଇଁ ଦାୟୀ ହେଲା। ତେବେ ଦୈବର ଅର୍ଥ କଣ? ବାସ୍ତବିକ ପୂର୍ବରୁ ଏସବୁ ବିଷୟରେ କେବଳ ଆମର କେବଳ ଶାବ୍ଦିକ ଜ୍ଞାନ ମାତ୍ର ଥିଲା, ପ୍ରକୃତ ଭାବ ବୁଝିପାରିନଥିଲି। ତେଣୁ ଦୈବ ପୁରୁଷକାର ନେଇ ଭିତରେ ଭିତରେ ଗୋଟେ ଗୋଳାମାଳ ହେଉଥିଲା। ଏହି ସମୟରେ ଜଣେ ବ୍ରାହ୍ମଣ ପଥିକ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ନିକଟକୁ ଉତ୍ସୁକ ହୋଇ ବାରମ୍ବାର ତାଙ୍କର ପରିଚୟ ଜାଣିବାକୁ ପଚାରିବାକୁ ଲାଗିଲେ। ଠାକୁର ଦୁଇ ଏକ ଥର ନୀରବ ରହି ଶେଷରେ ମୃଦୁ ଅଥଚ ଗମ୍ଭୀର ଭାବରେ କହିଲେ, କାହିଁକି ବାବା, ପରିଚୟର ପ୍ରୟୋଜନ କଣ? ଏତେ ସମୟ ଭଗବାନଙ୍କର ନାମ ନେଇଥିଲେ ବେଶ ଉପକାର ହେଇଥାନ୍ତା। ବ୍ରାହ୍ମଣ ଟିକେ ପଛେଇ ଗଲେ ଏବଂ ପରିଚୟ ନ ପାଇଲେ ମଧ୍ୟ ଜଣେ ସାଧୁ ବୋଲି ମନେ କଲେ। ପୁନର୍ବାର ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ପଚାରିଲେ, ଆଚ୍ଛା ବାବା, ଦୈବ ଓ ପୁରୁଷକାର ମଧ୍ୟରେ ପ୍ରଭେଦ କଣ? ମୁଁ ମନେ ମନେ ଯାହା ଚିନ୍ତା କରୁଥିଲି, ବ୍ରାହ୍ମଣ ଠିକ ସେଇ ବିଷୟରେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ କରିବାକୁ ଏହାକୁ ମଧ୍ୟ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କର ମହାତ୍ମ୍ୟ ବୋଲି ମନେ କରିଥିଲି। ପ୍ରଶ୍ନର ଉତ୍ତରରେ ଠାକୁର କହିଲେ, ଦୈବ ଓ ପୁରୁଷକାର ଅଙ୍ଗାଙ୍ଗୀ ଭାବରେ ଜଡିତ। ଜଣକର ଅଭାବରେ ଅନ୍ୟଟି ଅଚଳ। ଯେପରି ବୃଷ୍ଟି ଓ ଚାଷ ଏକ ସାଙ୍ଗରେ ନହେଲେ କେବଳ ବୃଷ୍ଟି ବା କେବଳ ଚାଷରେ ଫସଲ ହେବ ନାହିଁ, ସେହିପରି ଯେଉଁମାନେ ଦୈବ ବିଶ୍ୱାସୀ ସେମାନଙ୍କର ପୁରୁଷକାର କେବେ ପଙ୍ଗୁ ହୋଇନପାରେ। ଯେଉଁଠି ଏହାର ବ୍ୟତିକ୍ରମ ଦେଖିବ, ସେଠାରେ ଦୈବ ନାମରେ କେବଳ ଆତ୍ମପ୍ରବଞ୍ଚନା ଚାଲିଛି ବୋଲି ଜାଣିବ। ଅନ୍ଧ ଓ ଖଞ୍ଜର ଉଦାହରଣ ମଧ୍ୟ ଦେଲେ। ବ୍ରାହ୍ମଣର ସଙ୍ଗେ ପ୍ରଶ୍ନୋତ୍ତର ମାଧ୍ୟମରେ ମନେ ମନେ ଜିଜ୍ଞାସିତ ମୋର ପ୍ରଶ୍ନର ସୁମୀମାଂସିତ ଉତ୍ତର ପ୍ରଦାନ କରି ଠାକୁର ଗାଡିରେ ଉଠିଲେ। ମୁଁ ମଧ୍ୟ ମନେ ମନେ ଶକ୍ତି ଦିଅ କହି ଭୂମିଷ୍ଠ ପ୍ରଣାମ ପୂର୍ବକ ଶରଦଦାଙ୍କ ସହିତ ଗୃହକୁ ଫେରିଆସିଲି। ତୃତୀୟ ପରିଚ୍ଛେଦ। ଘରେ ପହଞ୍ଚି ଶ୍ରୀହଟ୍ଟ ସହରର ଓକିଲ ଅପରିଚିତ ଅନୁକୂଳ ବାବୁଙ୍କର ପତ୍ର ପାଇଲି ଏବଂ ଗୋତ୍ରୋନ୍ନବର୍ଦ୍ଧତାଂ ପ୍ରାର୍ଥନାର ସଫଳତାର ସୂଚନା ଦେଖି ପୁଲକିତ ହେଲି। ତେବେ ଓକିଲଙ୍କର ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ପାଇବା ପାଇଁ ଆଗ୍ରହ ଦେଖି ମନରେ ଟିକେ ସନ୍ଦେହ ବାହାରିଲା। ହୁଏତ ତାନ୍ତ୍ରିକ ଗୁରୁର ମାନ୍ତ୍ରିକ କ୍ରିୟାକାଣ୍ଡ ପାଠ କରି ତାଙ୍କର ଏହି ଆଗ୍ରହ ଜାତ ହୋଇଛି। ଯାହା ହେଉ 2-1 ମାସ ପରେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ସେ ନିଜେ ଆସି ଆମ ଘରେ ଉପସ୍ଥିତ ହେଲେ, ସେତେବେଳେ ତାଙ୍କୁ ଦେଖି ଓ ତାଙ୍କ ସହିତ ଆଳାପ କରି ମୋର ସେ ସନ୍ଦେହ ଦୂର ହେଲା। ତାର 1-2 ମାସ ପରେ ସେ ମଠକୁ ଯାଇ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ଠାରୁ ଦୀକ୍ଷା ନେଇ ଆସିଲେ। ପାଥେୟ ପଠାଇ ମଧ୍ୟ ମୋତେ ସଙ୍ଗୀ କରିପାରିଲେ ନାହିଁ। ଏହି ସମୟରେ ପୁଅଟିକୁ ସ୍କୁଲ ପଠାଇବାର ଏକମାତ୍ର ଚିନ୍ତା ମୋ ମନରେ ସର୍ବଦା ଜାଗିବାକୁ ଲାଗିଲା। ମୁଁ ସ୍କୁଲ ମାଷ୍ଟର ହୋଇ ମଧ୍ୟ 6-7 ବର୍ଷ ବୟସର ପୁଅକୁ ଏପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ବର୍ଣ୍ଣ ପରିଚୟ ମଧ୍ୟ କରାଇ ପାରିନି। ଏହା କେବଳ ମୋର ଯୋଗ୍ୟତାର ଅଭାବ ନୁହେଁ, ପରେ ଏହାକୁ ଭୁଲିବାକୁ ହେବ ବୋଲି ଆମର ବ୍ୟାବହାରିକ ତଥା ଗତାନୁଗତିକ ପାଠ୍ୟକ୍ରମ ଶିକ୍ଷା ଦେବାକୁ ପ୍ରବୃତ୍ତି ହୋଇନାହିଁ। କିନ୍ତୁ ଏହି ନିରକ୍ଷର ଛୋଟ ପିଲାଟିର ପୋକା କଥା ଓ ମଠକୁ ଯିବାର ଆଗ୍ରହ ଦେଖି ଆମେ ଅବାକ୍ ହେଲୁ। ଦିନକର ଏକ ଅଦ୍ଭୁତ କାଣ୍ଡ ଦେଖି ଆମେ ସମ୍ପୂର୍ଣ୍ଣ ବିସ୍ମିତ ହୋଇଗଲୁ। ଫାଲ୍ଗୁନ ମାସରେ ମଠକୁ ଯାଇପାରିଲି ନାହିଁ। ପରବର୍ତ୍ତୀ ବୈଶାଖ ମାସରେ ପୁଷ୍ପଦୋଳସ ଉପଲକ୍ଷେ ଆମ ଘରେ କୀର୍ତ୍ତନ କରୁଛି। ଏହି ସମୟରେ ଗ୍ରାମର ଅନ୍ୟ ଜଣଙ୍କ ଘରେ ଉତ୍ସବ ଥିବାରୁ ସେଠାକୁ ଯାଇ କୀର୍ତ୍ତନ କରିବାକୁ ସେମାନେ ଆସି ଆମକୁ ଅନୁରୋଧ କଲେ। ସମସ୍ତେ ଯିବାରୁ ପୁଅଟି ମଧ୍ୟ ଯିବାକୁ ଚାହିଁଲା। ରାତ୍ରି ଯୋଗୁଁ ମୁଁ ମନା କଲି, କିନ୍ତୁ ସେ କାନ୍ଦି ଆକୁଳ ହେବାରୁ ଜଣେ ସଙ୍ଗୀ କହିଲେ, ତାକୁ ଯିବାକୁ ଦିଅନ୍ତୁ, ମୁଁ ସାଙ୍ଗରେ ନେଇଯିବି, ସେଠାରେ ନଜରରେ ରଖିବି, ପୁଣି ଏଠାରେ ଆଣି ଛାଡ଼ିଦେବି। ମୁଁ ଆଉ ବିଶେଷ ଆପତ୍ତି କଲି ନାହିଁ। ସେଠାକୁ ଯାଇ ମୁଁ ବଂଶୀଓଲା ଜଗତ ଉଜ୍ଜଲା କେବଲେ କାଲା ତାହାରି ନାମ ଏହି ସଙ୍ଗୀତଟି ଗାନ କରୁଛି। କୀର୍ତ୍ତନ ଖୁବ ଜମି ଉଠିଛି। ଠିକ ଏହି ସମୟରେ ସେ ପୁଅ ଖଣ୍ଡେ ବାଉଁଶ ବାଡି ହାତରେ ନେଇ ଠିକ ବଂଶୀ ପରି ଦୁଇ ହାତରେ ଧରି ପାଦରେ ପାଦ ଛନ୍ଦି ତ୍ରିଭଙ୍ଗ ଭଙ୍ଗୀରେ ଶ୍ରୀକୃଷ୍ଣଙ୍କ ପରି କୀର୍ତ୍ତନ ଆସନ ମଧ୍ୟସ୍ଥଳରେ ଆସି ଠିଆ ହେଲା। ସେତେବେଳେ ମୁଁ ମନ୍ୟମନସ୍କ ଥିଲି। ଈଶ୍ୱରତା ମତେ ଦେଖାଇ ଦେବାରୁ ଚାହିଁ ଦେଖିଲି ତାର ଶରୀର ନିଷ୍ପନ୍ଦ, ନେତ୍ର ନିର୍ନିମେଷ ଓ ମୁଖମଣ୍ଡଳ ଧୂସର ବର୍ଣ୍ଣ। ତାକୁ ଏଇ ଭାବରେ ଦେଖି ରୋହିଣୀ ଭାବସ୍ଥ ହୋଇ ହାତ ଫାତ ଛାଟି ତା ଆଡକୁ ଦୌଡ଼ିଲା। ମୁଁ ଯେଉଁ ବେଗରେ ଯାଉଛି ତାକୁ ଧରି ପକାଇଲେ ମାରି ପକାଇବ ଭାବି ଆମେ ତାକୁ ଧରି ଅଟକାଇଲୁ। ଦୁଇ ଜଣ ନିଶ୍ଚଳ ହୋଇ ପଡି ରହିଲେ। ଘୋର ଅବିଶ୍ୱାସୀ ଲୋକ ଏଥର ଭାବ ବିଶ୍ୱାସ କଲେ। ସେ ମୋତେ ପରେ କହିଥିଲେ, ଲୋକ ଭଣ୍ଡାମି ଧରି ଭାବ ଦେଖାଏ ବୋଲି ମୋର ଧାରଣା ହେଉଥିଲା। କିନ୍ତୁ ରୋହିଣୀ ପରି ସ୍ଥିର ଧୀର ସଚ୍ଚରିତ୍ର ପିଲାର ଭାବ କେବେ ହେଲେ କୃତ୍ରିମ ହୋଇନପାରେ। ଆଉ ବୀରେନ୍ତ ନିତାନ୍ତ ଶିଶୁ। ଗୀତର ଅର୍ଥ ବୁଝିବାର ତାର କ୍ଷମତା ତାର ନାହିଁ। କୃଷ୍ଣଙ୍କର ରୂପ ବର୍ଣ୍ଣନା ସମୟରେ ଏକବାରେ ଅଲୌକିକ। ସୁତରାଂ ଏଥର ଅବିଶ୍ୱାସ କରି ପାରିଲି ନାହିଁ। ଜୟ ଗୁରୁ ଭାଇ, ଜୟ
ईश्वर भाई जय गुरु। ईश्वर भाई नांदी लाइन बता लाइन आप म्यूट अच्छी बोधे। ईश्वर भाई जय गुरु।
भाई जॉइन करते बोधे सुबोध भाई कह कर दिंतु इंग्लिश सम्मति कर दिंतु।
ମୁଁ ତ ରେଡି ନାହିଁ।
ଆଚ୍ଛା
ମୁଁ ପଢିଗଲି, ମୋର ଜାଣା ଲାଗିଲା କଣ ପଢିଗଲି।
ଆଉ କିଏ ଅଛନ୍ତି ଲାଇନ୍ କହିବେ କି ଇଂଲିଶ କରିଦେବେ ଆଟେନସନ ଦେଇଥିଲେ।
ଜୟ ଭାଇ ମୁଁ ଟିକେ କରିପାରିବି। So here Bihar is summarizing his experience of how Thakura reached the station and they found that no one is prepared to receive them. And then Thakura spent that one night in the station out there with a lot of difficulties. First they found a abandoned storage, and where they made a bed for Thakura, and Thakura didn't like because not everyone got that same a bed place to stay there in the night. So then Thakura said that okay, I cannot sleep there. Then but Thakura requested that they just make some preparation for the bhoga, and then then lot of difficulties they found in nearby Brahmin's place where they could cook it, and then Thakur went there, and then there was a good conversation between the Brahmin and the Thakur, and the Brahmin asked Thakur about what's the difference between the Purushakara and the Daiva. Basically, that Thakur explained that both are different sides of the same coin. One cannot exist without another, like example of rain and without putting efforts, the other cannot basically without rain you cannot grow crops. So both are necessary. At the same time, Thakur has also in that same time Thakur has asked about Bihari Bhai about why he left his job, and Bihari Bhai said that okay, his body didn't permit him to continue. And Thakur has said that we are karma yogi. That means like we are made for to do our job. So basically, Thakur is referring here the niskama karma here, that we have to keep on doing until at the very last moment. We cannot leave that in between. And I have a question about that later. I'll ask. So then after that's actually the most important part of that entire conversation. Then after I'll leave it. I'll stop here. Basically, the rest is basically Thakur continues about his plans on the next trend. So Jai Guru.
Initially, what happened is that Bihar Bhai was informed that Thakur is going through that station, and he'll be coming to Sonamanishil house. So when he went there, nobody in their house knew about Thakur coming, and so Sonamani Bhai was not there. So they both, Saraswata Bhai and Bihar Bhai, they ran to the station, and on the way they found Sonamani Bhai coming. When they conveyed that message to Sonamani Bhai, he was surprised. Then all three of them ran to station, and on the way they found a river, and there was a river. They found a coolie, infected with cholera, lying there, and he had way to even get up and for the strength to get up. And these guys, they are getting late, so they are waiting. Thakur, what kind of test this is? We don't have time to really carry him anywhere because we have to reach station. So what they then finally did, that they went to the village and told people that hey, this coolie is there. That's one thing. The other thing is about the Daiva and Purushakara. That's one very nice statement Thakur has made there. Just want to point that out. That is, Thakur said that Vishwan said that there are just two sides of the coin. At the same time, Thakur is saying, which is very important for us to remember, is that anybody who really believes in Daiva cannot be lazy, cannot ignore Purushakara. That means if we just don't do anything thinking that everything is done by God, so I don't have to do anything. Thakur said that's not the right thing. Not right. He said, I don't remember the exact word. It's like a fondant. If we just become lazy, saying that okay, what Thakur is doing everything, so we don't do anything. Whatever Thakur wishes, that will happen. So we don't have to do anything. Thakur said, that's not right. That's I think fondant was something. The word he used there, hypocrite. So just wanted to point that out. Anyway, Jai
Bhai, while you're discussing this, just a question. Probably will consume some of the time from the question session. Thakur ए जगह कहते कि कर्मयोगी हमको तम गुण माड़ी बसी कर्म कर छाड़ दबा, which is perfect sense. किंतु ठाकुर अन्य जगह आपको भी कहते, I don't know, like that here probably the addressing is different. But कहते जो मानकर कर्म करिवार आवश्यक नाही, माने वैश्विक कर्म ये क्या माने जो कोटिकार कहते 6 घंटा काम करि पारिबो दिन को, तो से जगह कहते कि जहाँ काम कर आवश्यक नहीं, वैश्विक नीड नहीं, they are well to do, they can do so. So maybe I don't know, this is basically a particular addressing, that is a general addressing, or this is general addressing, that is a particular addressing.
I know what कहते basically से reference टा होची जदि जनकर somebody is really well to do, they don't have to work for somebody and go through that जन ठारू नीच होइकी रहिबा तार किसी दरकार नहीं. He can just quit the job and साधन भजन करी अन्यर सेवा करी इत्यादि इत्यादि करी तार जीवन यापन करि परिबो, तार आध्यात्मिक उन्नति हि परिबो. All of us, we work because we have to find a way of feeding our family and doing all that. But somebody doesn't have to worry about that. They should just not do it. That's the context Thakura has said. I know exactly where it is from. But let's take some of that into our discussion. Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Jai Guru. Shama Charara Tari Shama Charara Tari Tarara Deva Tarara Deva Yama Charara Tari Vive sarvartha sadhike sakala mangalamai Vive sarvartha sadhike sakala mangalamai Karuna Karanjani Sri Jagata Sakti Mai Ma Karuna Karanjani Sri Jagata Sakti Mai Milati Surango Harabama Milati Surango Harabama Sarana Deva Sarana Deva Syama Charana Tari Najari Bhakati Mago Najari Pujana Riti Najari Bhakati Mago Najari Pujana Riti Nisidina Jari Gibani Titiyaniti Mani Sidina Ajari Gibani Titiyaniti Janani Go Nadev ki khyama Janani go Nadev ki khyama Sarana Deva Sarana Deva Syama Charana Tari Kusantana भरा भव कुमाताजी असंभव कुसंतान भरा भव कुमाताजी असंभव जननी अंगारे की गो कुपुत्र नाही ठावा माँ जननी अंगारे की गो कुपुत्र नाही ठावा गुरुदास माहरा की माँ गुरुदास माहरा की माँ शरण दे माँ शरण दे माँ श्यामा चरण तले श्यामा चरण तले शरण दे श्यामा चरण तले श्यामा चरण तले।
Jai Guru. Samsara Pate, Chapter 26. Taking medication, retention, collecting herbs, etc. based on Tithi or lunar calendar transmits power based on condition. Later, it becomes even more powerful when applied with the power of a mantra. Some medication is to be taken at night, while some others during the day to be more productive. Looking at the rules and restrictions in lower caste of Hindus and the strong bond of restraints and restrictions, many believe that the fasting, atonement, abstinence amid worldly pleasure and self-torture might be called as dharma. However, dharma doesn't mean self-torture, rather it means self-upliftment. Self-pleasure and enhancing self-happiness is its root cause. Devotion towards God, love for other living beings, and having peace in one's heart is called dharma. Is there anything more charming other than the phenomenal picture of the objects which depicts devotion, love, and peace? However, keep in mind that no truth can be attained if one has not suffered at least some misery in the initial stage. Those who are spending time considering worldly pleasure as comfort, they go through anxiety and misery as the result of it. Therefore, there are provisions of rules and restrictions for the lower caste Hindus. Jai Guru.
जय गुरु हमारा जी सकाळे प्रार्थना कार्यक्रम पत्र पढ़ा होता जे जमती जोग ज्ञान तंत्र प्रेम इत्यादि डिफरेंट पैथ अच्छी स्पिरिचुअल पैथ फॉर साधना सेमती प्रार्थना एक स्वतंत्र साधन पथ प्रार्थनार अमोघ शक्ति प्रार्थना कले सबू मिले भगवान को पाखरे अकपट भाव प्रार्थना करा पड़ो मन गोटे कथा चाहूब मुहर आ गोटे कथा कहते से प्रार्थनार कौन फल मिले ना जहाँ मागिबे निश्चय पाइबे कि से मागिबा भितर से व्याकुलता थिबा दरकार तांको पाखे से प्रार्थनाटा पहुँचवा दरकार से एठी अछंती तांको पाखे मो कथा पहुँचबो इत्यादि सबू आमर दृढ़ विश्वास रही दरकार व्याकुलता रहा दरकार इत्यादि तापर आउ गोटे कथा आमे प्रार्थना करुचे सी प्रार्थनार जहाँ प्रार्थना करुचे से आमको देबे तार टाइम लाइन किछि नाही आमे व्यस्त हो पड़ानी जे आज तो मागिली काली सकाळ सुधा कहीं न मिलला ये Amazon Prime delivery नुह कि Domino's 30 minutes guaranteed delivery तांकर तो इच्छा से देबे आपण मागी जंती ना से दाबीटा हमर नाही तो से धैर्यटा हमर रहया दरकार तेणु प्रार्थना बेले गोटे विश्वास कथा 3टी पॉइंट से लिखिचंती प्रथम पॉइंट है गुरु भगवान स्थूल भाव में विराजित मो कथा से शुणुचंती मु जहाँ प्रार्थना करछि तांको पाखरे पहुँचुछि ए विश्वासटा थिबा दरकार जे तांको पाखरे पहुँचुछि बोले हमर विश्वास नै फल के मिलियो सेकंड तांको महिमा रे विश्वास जे मु जहाँटा मागुछि से निश्चय सेटा देई परिबे थर्ड से बसचंती मो कथा शुणुचंती से निश्चय मो प्रार्थना पूर्ण करिवे ए विश्वास गुडाक रहिले जाइकरी प्रार्थना फलवती हुए ऑल्सो डिस्कसेस अबाउट कौन प्रार्थना करिया दरकार आत्मज्ञान प्रदान तस्मै शीघ्र नम जो प्रार्थना करुचे सबुदिन सकाळ संध्या दीदी थर कहूचे से लाइन टी को दैट इज व्हाट यू नीड टू आस्क नथिंग मोर नथिंग लेस आउ किछि मागिले आत्मज्ञान मिलेनी आत्मज्ञान गोटे यूनिक जिनस आत्मज्ञान मिलगले आउ किछि मिलबार रहेनी there is no other want no other need everything is fulfilled by this one thing जोटा को हमें आत्मज्ञान बोली कहूचे से आत्मज्ञान टी मिलगला किछि दरकार नै तेणु जदि प्रार्थना करछन्ते से जिनसटी प्रार्थना करंतु अन्य जिनस के मागी मोर गाड़ी ते दरकार घोड़ा ते दरकार काम दरकार ऑफिस गोटे भलो प्रमोशन दरकार गोटा करिए कोन दरकार केना एगुडा मागिले ता संग दुख भी आसीबो किंतु आत्मज्ञान हेला दुख आसेनी तेणु सेटा को हमर सर्वश्रेष्ठ प्रार्थना बोली आज हमें पढ़िले ये रखा डिस्कशन एनी क्वेश्चंस वी हैव द फुल ऑलमोस्ट 9 minutes कहार जदि किछ क्वेश्चन अछि पचारंतु
जय भाई आई एम गोइंग फर्स्ट
या भाई यू आर गोइंग टू आस्क क्वेश्चंस और यू
नो आई हैव अ क्वेश्चन कौन से एक्चुअली सुभाषिस भाई यार आज में तार गोटे जिन मोर बाकी रही गला जोटा कि आई डू नॉट नो सो आई कैन आंसर हिम से संघर्षटा बाहर से निगम प्रसाद आसी तो मोर तासे डाउट रोचे ये से कहते ठाकुर कहले निर्विकल्प पढ़ी दौचे सुभाष पठे पढ़ी दौची से कहते जे निर्विकल्प समाधि पर ज्ञानी पुनर्बार यदि देहस्थ हमें तेज से भक्ति भाव कि प्रेम भाव ग्रहण करते साधन अवस्था जो पथरे ज्ञान लाभ हो भाव लाभ प्रबल रही क्वेश्चन हूँ मुझे आंसर कर सांख्य ज्ञान जहाँ फल से भक्ति भाव ग्रहण करती तो मोर डाउट रहा कौन सांख्य जाइए जो निर्विकल्प समाधि लाभ करेंगे सांख्य कौन भक्ति भाव कहते वेदांत जो निर्विकल्प करेंगे से फेरी आसती प्रेम भाव हम दैट मेक सेंस जगत देखिए ब्रह्ममय माने अहं ब्रह्मास्मि जगत ब्रह्म दैट मेक्स सांख्य जो मैंने निर्विकल्प जाई पाइबे से माने फेरी आसिले भक्ति भाव प्रबल हम
सांख्य हाँ नहीं सांख्यटा जनरली डुअल इफ यू रियली गो टेक्निकली केवल अद्वैत वेदांत होची नॉन डुअल बाकी षड दर्शन पांच भाग दर्शन डुअल तेणु सांख्य भाव माने से ज्ञान मार्ग रे ही निर्विकल्प समाधि लाभ होता है आ कौन से मार्ग रे हुए नहीं तापर जदि आपण मु भाबुची या हिथु आई एम नॉट श्योर आल्सो मु भाबुची या हिथु जेतोले आपण ज्ञान रे पूर्ण भाव प्रतिष्ठित हेले सेटा निर्विकल्प तार तो एंड तार किछ नाही केन ब्रह्म हो गले तापर जे फेरी आसिले जो आमर चैतन्यकर वर्णित अचिंत भेदाभेद तत्व भेद होइकि मध्य अभेद सेटा होची ज्ञानर चरम अवस्थार पर अवस्था सेटा जो माने नित्य लोक अच्छा समस्ते ज्ञानी किंतु से माने सेवा करुचंती बिकॉज दे लाइक टू डू दैट से जो डुआलिटी आभास अच्छी किंतु नॉन डुआल से गुड़ा को नहीं ठाकुर कहते पारती जे से माने ये आसी पहुंचे बोली प्रेम मार्गे आसी पहुंचे अदर देन दैट आई डोंट नो आई एम आल्सो a little unsure
ताकू टिके गंधोलिया करी फील्ड करछनी संगत पेपर कारण मु ताकू देखुतली सोर्स को जाई देखली हमर निगम प्रसाद रे ठाकुर से कथा कहते टिके अलगा करी तो कहते निर्विकल्प समाधि पर ज्ञानी आबार देहस्थ हले अय भक्ति भाव नय प्रेम भाव ग्रहण करते অর্থাৎ সাধন অবস্থায় আর যে কথা জ্ঞান লাভ হয়েছে এইভাবে প্রবল থাকবে। এইটি কৌଛନ୍ତି যে সাংখ্য জ্ঞান যাদের প্রবল তারা কত কথা ভক্তিভাব গ্রহণ করবে, যাদের জ্ঞান পাকা নয় এটা থাকবে সংঘর্ষ যে যাদের জ্ঞান পাকা নয় তারা কত কথা দাস্য ভাব নিয়ে থাকবে, আর বেদান্ত জ্ঞান যাদের প্রবল তারা প্রেমিক ভাবে জগৎকে জড়িয়ে ধরবে। এই যে যাদের জ্ঞান পাকা নয় তারা কত কটা দাস্য ভাব নিয়ে থাকবে সেটা সংঘর্ষ অভিযান এই ভিতরে দাস্য ভাব ভক্তি
ଯାହାର ଜ୍ଞାନ ପକ୍କା ହେଇନି ସିଏ ନିର୍ବିକଳ୍ପ ଯାଇପାରିବନି, ପକ୍କା ନହେଲେ ଯାଇହବନି। ସାଂଖ୍ୟଟା ହେଲେ କାହିଁକି ଭକ୍ତି ଭାବଟା ଆସିବ ସେଇଟା ବୁଝି ହଉଛି, କାହିଁକିନା ସାଂଖ୍ୟଟା ଜେନେରାଲି ଇଟ୍ସ ଏ ଡୁଆଲ ଥିଙ୍ଗ, ରାଇଟ୍? ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଇଛି ମୂଳ ପ୍ରକୃତିରୁ ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିଛନ୍ତି। ସୋ ତା ଦେହରେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ବେଦାନ୍ତ ଆଡ୍ କଲା ପୁରୁଷ, ସେ ତା ଦେହରେ ଡୁଆଲିଟି ଆସିଯାଉଛି। ଡୁଆଲିଟି ଆସିଲେ ଭକ୍ତି ଭାବ ଆସିବ, ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ମେକ୍ସ ସେନ୍ସ। କିନ୍ତୁ ଯାହାର ଜ୍ଞାନ ପକ୍କା ନାହିଁ ବୋଲି କହିଛନ୍ତି, ଜ୍ଞାନ ପକ୍କା ନହେଲେ ତ ସେ ନିର୍ବିକଳ୍ପ ଯାଇପାରିବନି, ତାର ଯିବାର ଅଧିକାର ହିଁ ନାହିଁ। ତାର ଜ୍ଞାନର ଚରମଟା ହେଉଛି ନିର୍ବିକଳ୍ପ। ସେ କୋଉ କଣ୍ଟେକ୍ସଟରେ କହିଥିବେ ତା ଦେହରୁ ବୋଧେ ଆମେ ବୁଝିବା ଟିକେ କଷ୍ଟ ହେଇପାରେ। ରାଇଟ୍ ରାଇଟ୍। ସେ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ କ'ଣ ହଉଛି କି ଭାଇ, ଠାକୁର କହିଛନ୍ତି ଜଣେ ତାକୁ ସେଇ ସମୟରେ ତ ଲେଖିନି, ଆସେ ତାପରେ ସେଦିନ ରାତିରେ ଚିନ୍ତା କରିକି ସେ ଲେଖିଛନ୍ତି। ତା ଭିତରେ ବି ବେଳେବେଳେ ଟିକେ ଟିକେ ଗୋଟେ ଗୋଟେ ଜିନିଷ ଆସେ ସେଇ ଟାଇପ୍ର। ଠାକୁର ଲେଖି ଦେଇଛନ୍ତି କୋଉଠି, ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଇଜ୍ ଗୋଲ୍ଡେନ୍, ଦେର୍ ଇଜ୍ ନଥିଙ୍ଗ ମୋର୍ ଅର୍ ଲେସ୍। କାହିଁକିନା ସେ ଚିନ୍ତା କରିକି ଲେଖନ୍ତି, ଏମିତି ମନରୁ ଇଏ କରିକି ଲେଖନ୍ତିନି। ସୋ ବେଳେବେଳେ ଏମିତି ଟିକେ ଟିକେ ଆସେ, ବଟ୍ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଇଜ୍ ପ୍ରବାବଲି ହ୍ୱାଟ୍ ଇଜ୍। ପକ୍କା ନ ହେଇଥିଲେ ତ ସେ ନିର୍ବିକଳ୍ପ ହେଇପାରିବନି। ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ସ ଦ ଡେଫିନେସନ୍ ଅଫ୍ ନିର୍ବିକଳ୍ପ, ହେଉଛି ଜ୍ଞାନର ଚରମ, ରାଇଟ୍? ସେଇଟା ଠାକୁର ନିଜେ ଲେଖିଛନ୍ତି ଅନ୍ୟ ଜାଗାରେ, ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ଲେଖା ସେଇଟା। So we have to go by that rather than go by this, my humble opinion. Anyway, any other questions? Local bhai here.
Bhai Jai Guru.
Agya ma kuhanta.
ମୁଁ କହୁଥିଲି ଯେ ଆତ୍ମଜ୍ଞାନ ଆଉ ଜ୍ଞାନ ମାଗିବା ଭିତରେ କଣ ଡିଫରେନ୍ସ? ଆଉ ଲାଷ୍ଟ ଇଏରେ ବ୍ରଜ ଭାଇ କହୁଥିଲେ ଯେ ବୁଦ୍ଧିଟା ମଣିଷକୁ ଇଏ କରିଦିଏ, ବୁଦ୍ଧିଟା କହିକିରି ତୁ କର ବୋଲି। ସୋ ତାର ତିନିଟାକ ଡିଫରେନ୍ସଟା କଣ ଭାଇ?
ଆତ୍ମଜ୍ଞାନ ଆଉ ଜ୍ଞାନ ଭିତରେ କିଛି ଡିଫରେନ୍ସ, ଆମେ କିଏ? ହୁ ଆର୍ ୱି? ମୁଁ ଦେହ ନୁହେଁ, ମୁଁ ମନ ନୁହେଁ, ମୁଁ ଏଇଟା ନୁହେଁ ସେଇଟା ନୁହେଁ, ଲାଷ୍ଟକୁ ଆସିବ ମୁଁ ହେଉଛି ଆତ୍ମା ବା ବ୍ରହ୍ମ। ବ୍ରହ୍ମ ଆତ୍ମା ଭିତରେ କିଛି ଡିଫରେନ୍ସ ନାହିଁ, ଜଷ୍ଟ ଡିଫରେନ୍ସ ଇନ୍ ଷ୍ଟେଟ୍। ବୁଦ୍ଧିଟା ହେଉଛି ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଆମର ଦେହଟା ଅଛି, ଦେହରେ ବିଭିନ୍ନ ପ୍ରକାର କମ୍ପୋନେଣ୍ଟ ଅଛି। ସାଂଖ୍ୟ କଥା ଏବେ ବ୍ରଜ ଭାଇ ଉଠିଲେ, ସାଂଖ୍ୟ ମତରେ ଚତୁର୍ବିଂଶତି ତତ୍ତ୍ୱ ବୋଲି କହନ୍ତି, ତା ଦେହରୁ 4ଟି ଜିନିଷ ନେଇକି ଅନ୍ତଃକରଣ କୁହାଯାଏ, ମନ, ବୁଦ୍ଧି, ଚିତ୍ତ, ଅହଙ୍କାର। ବୁଦ୍ଧି ଇଜ୍ ପାର୍ଟ ଅଫ୍ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍। ତେଣୁ ବୁଦ୍ଧିଟା ହେଉଛି it's an ability for us to analyze, ability to say this is right, this is wrong, but that is also heavily influenced by our previous experiences. ଆମର ଯୋଉ ସଂସ୍କାର ନେଇକି ଜନ୍ମ ହେଇଥିବା ବୁଦ୍ଧିଟା ବି ସେଇ ଅନୁସାରେ ତାକୁ ସେ ଏଣ୍ଡରେ ଯାଇ ପହଞ୍ଚିବ। ସେ ବିଚାର କରିବାର ଶକ୍ତି ଅଛି, କିନ୍ତୁ ଠିକ ବିଚାର ଶକ୍ତି ଅଛି କି ଭୁଲ ବିଚାର ଶକ୍ତି ଅଛି, that largely depends on some of the ସଂସ୍କାର that we carry with us. So ବୁଦ୍ଧିଟା ହେଉଛି ଆମର ଜୀବାତ୍ମା ମାୟା ଭିତରେ ଜ୍ଞାନ ଯୋଉଟା କହୁଛନ୍ତି, ଆତ୍ମଜ୍ଞାନ ତାକୁ କହନ୍ତି, ବ୍ରହ୍ମଜ୍ଞାନ କହନ୍ତି, ଯାହା ବି କୁହନ୍ତୁ, ସିଏ ହେଲା ଟ୍ରୁ ସେଲ୍ଫ, ଟ୍ରୁ ନଲେଜ। ଯୋଉଟା ଆମର ବ୍ରହ୍ମଙ୍କର ସ୍ୱରୂପ ସଚ୍ଚିଦାନନ୍ଦ, ସେଟା ଚିତ୍ ହେଲା ଆନନ୍ଦ, ଚିତ୍ ହେଲା ଜ୍ଞାନ। ସେ ହିଜ ଏମ୍ବଡିମେଣ୍ଟ ଅଫ୍ ନଲେଜ, ହି ଡଜଣ୍ଟ ଆକ୍ଟ, ହି ଇଜ୍ ନଲେଜ। ସୋ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଇଜ୍ ହ୍ୱାଟ ଆତ୍ମଜ୍ଞାନ ବା ଜ୍ଞାନ ବା ବ୍ରହ୍ମ ଜ୍ଞାନ, ତିନିଟା ସେଇ ଇଏରେ କୁହାଯାଏ। ଜେନେରାଲି କଲୋକିଆଲି ଆମେ ଯୋଉ ଜ୍ଞାନ ବୋଲି ୟୁଜ୍ କରୁଛେ, ଜଷ୍ଟ ଫାଇଣ୍ଡିଂ ସମଥିଙ୍ଗ ଆବାଉଟ୍ ସମଥିଙ୍ଗ ଇଜ୍ ଏ ନଲେଜ। ଆଜି ମୁଁ ଏଠି ବସିଛି, ବାହାରେ ଯାଇ ଦେଖୁଛି ଥଣ୍ଡା ହେଇଛି, ସୋ ଆଇ ଫାଇଣ୍ଡ ସମଥିଙ୍ଗ ଏଲ୍ସ ଆଣ୍ଡ ଆଇ ଲର୍ନ ମୋର୍ ଆବାଉଟ୍ ଦିସ୍, why this tree is spreading leaves, for example. I'm just giving some examples. So that becomes a knowledge, but that's not a true knowledge. True knowledge जोटा कहते हैं आत्मज्ञान कि ब्रह्मज्ञान कि ज्ञान बोली बेले कहुए, सेटा हूँ knowing about self, मु किए, कौट आसी कुआडे जीवी इत्यादि इत्यादि, सेटा को अनुसंधान करवाटा वेदांत मतर साधना, साधन चतुष्टय कहुए ताकू, स्मरण मन निध्यासन इत्यादि मार्ग ज्ञान मार्ग जो साधनाटा। सो दैट इज व्हाट दैट इज। कि अधिका भितर पड़ेली, जदि किसी क्वेश्चन थाए पचारे। Anything else? Got a minute? I'm not.
भाई जय गुरु
ma'am.
भाई मत टे माने ईश्वर और भगवान दुईटा माने सम्मान ना अलगा मु जाने
से माने समान समान भी नुहंती तार क्विक आंसर टा दे
गुरु ईश्वर भगवान ए तीनटा टिके डिफरेंस है टिके कोन
ईश्वर भगवान आउ जण आउ कोन कहले
गुरु ईश्वर भगवान
ईश्वर भगवान टू समहाट सिमिलर भगवान होचंती सगुण ब्रह्म से होचंती सबु अनंत कोटि ब्रह्मांडर अधिपति से माया द्वारा निजे आवृत होइछन जानिचंती से माया द्वारा आवृत होइछंती आ से होचंती भगवान से संसार सबु क्रिएट करचंती सस्टेन करचंती डिस्ट्रॉय भी करिवे से हेले भगवान ईश्वर होचंती से जो अनंत कोटि ब्रह्मांडर अधिपति हेले भगवान ना से गोटी गोटी ब्रह्मांडर अधिपति को ईश्वर कहा जाए तापर गुरु होचंती समस्त ठार उपरे गुरु जतोळे आमे कहूचे वी डोंट मीन बाय नॉर्मल गुरु मु आज गली जण ठार किछ गोटे विद्या शिक्षा कली से मो गुरु हेले नॉट दैट जे निजे आत्मज्ञान रे प्रतिष्ठित सद्गुरु जे जगत गुरुंकर मानसी तनु से सद्गुरु जगत गुरु हेले ब्रह्म ब्रह्म गोटे स्पेशल स्टेटा कौन ना जीव को उद्धार करवा गोटे काम सी हेले गुरु तेणु भगवान हेले से ब्रह्म जे माया द्वारा आवृत होइचंती ईश्वर हेले गोटे ब्रह्मांडर अधिपति गुरु हेले तांको ठारू इन वे उपरे कहीं से निर्गुण तांको काम होला जो सगुण सब हो जाइचंती ना तांको केमिति नै कि से निर्गुण अवस्था रे पहुंचेबे सो आंसर गोटे मिनिट अधिक आइ गला लेट्स जस्ट एंड हियर जय गुरु Srija, when you are ready, please start Prarthana Sangita. Jai Guru.
Boli Makaroni Priya Tomar Sneha Sumari Boli Makaroni Priya Tomar Sneha Sumari आखी करो पोछी दे आखी करो पोछी दे ताका तबेगा नवारी बोली बारो निपिया तुम्हारी बुरी जाओ थीली कालो सपन खेला जाए बुरी जाओ थीली कालो सपन खेला जाए आशा पीछा तुम्हारी माता कोई आशा देगा तुम्हारी माता कोई प्रेम से बांधी दे प्रेम से बांधी काई बुरी पारो मेरा तुम्हारी दर्शन दे हृदय द्वार खोली दर्शन दे हृदय द्वार खोली आशीष चंदना मथारे मोदे लगोली आशीष चंदना मथारे मोदे लगोली मारू बसे सदा मारू बसे चलाई चलारी वो पारो निकलिया तुम्हार स्नेहा तुम्हारी की गुहारी अभय चरण तारे एतिकी गोवारी अभय सदा तारे दादा सदा देव जीवन संजाते दादा सदा देव जीवन संजाते जया गाउथिबी तुम जया गाउथिबी ते दिन को सकाली बोले पारो प्रिया तुम स्नेहाई आखी तलो पोछिले आखी तलो पोछिले तापत बेगान बारी बोली पारो प्रिया
Jai Guru Young Aspirant. We will start with attendance and then I'll ask Shrija to explain the meaning of the song that she just sang. Aditi?
Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Adya?
सुभाषबाई की टेक्निकल विषय है कैसे न्यूज कर बताओ सतीश भाई की विषय है इसलिए हमारा न्यूज कर देते हैं
Jai Guru. Icing? Anhik?
Satru.
Jai Guru. Ansh?
Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Arnav?
Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Aram?
Jai Guru Master Asti Alchar Gadigana Custody.
Jai Guru. Jamu?
Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Divyan?
Divyan will join Kali.
Jai Guru. Timmy?
Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Jagrat?
Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Naitik? Pratyusha?
Jai Guru Ma.
Jai Guru. Pratyush?
Jai Guru Ma.
Jai Guru. Sanvi?
Jai Guru Ma.
Jai Guru. Saraswat?
Jai Guru Ma.
Jai Guru. Sarthak? Bhakti?
Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Pavi?
Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Shilpi? Shreya?
Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Manu? Jimmy?
Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Simran?
Jai Ma.
Jai Guru. Shrija?
Jai Guru Ma.
Jai Guru. Suhani? Yukta?
Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Okay. If I missed anyone, please let me know now. Okay. So with that, Shrija, can you explain the meaning of the song you just sang?
Sure. The song goes like this. Oh dear Lord, I cannot forget the endless love you bestowed on me. Your love has wiped out my teardrops of pain and worry. Your love and affection saved me from getting drowned in the ditch of hardship and misery. You lead the way. You lead my way in the barren path of life with your blessings, kindness, and empathy. The only desire, if I may put before your lotus feet, is to give me a glimpse of your eternal form at the dust of my life. I shall be chanting your sacred name until then. Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Right. So it's again another really beautiful devotional song, and one of the things that we get from it is just remembering our devotion to Him, remembering how He takes care of us, how He guides us, all of His positive qualities that we get to enjoy, and in return, all we're asking with our devotion, with saying Jai Guru and chanting His name, reminding ourselves of Him. At the end of it, we ultimately want that self-knowledge and that knowledge that comes from seeing Him in that divine form of His. So, always something to remember. So this week we are continuing to read the Gita, and we started chapter 3 last time. So we're continuing this chapter, but before we get into this week's verses, let's do a quick review of the first 7 verses in this chapter. So does anyone remember what we read last time, about 3 weeks ago? Does anyone have an idea of what those last 7 lines were? Okay, if not, basically we started this chapter with, after the second chapter where Arjuna and Lord Krishna started their conversation about Arjuna having to engage in this battle, and Arjuna being confused about why, how could it be right, what does he not know that makes this the superior choice, and Lord Krishna trying to convince him and giving him some spiritual arguments about what he's supposed to be doing and how to go about this and how to think about it, about life and death and what Arjuna's specific role is supposed to be here. We started this chapter with Arjuna being confused about 2 pathways to attaining salvation, or to getting to an ultimate truth, or to live life. So there are 2 pathways Lord Krishna stated to Arjuna about how to get, how to progress spiritually. And we started this chapter with Arjuna being confused about what these 2 pathways were and which one was better. Do any of you remember what those kind of 2 main pathways Lord Krishna discussed in chapter 2 and were brought up at the beginning of this chapter was?
The 2 pathways, this is Yukta. The 2 pathways Lord Krishna discussed was like the path of knowledge and then the path of Mork, Jagler.
Right. So he talks about a path of knowledge, those, learning about the self, learning about the world, learning about God, and the path of knowledge we haven't really discussed that deeply. And then the path of work, the path of action, doing duties. And this chapter specifically is about, and we've started a discussion of, and we'll read more about this path of work. The path of knowledge will be discussed in more depth later. But in these two pathways, Arjuna asks, which one's better? One of them has to be better. Did Lord Krishna say either one was a superior path? Sandy, did Lord Krishna say that there's a path that's better or worse?
Jaguru, no, he didn't.
No, he didn't, right? These paths, this path of work or a path of knowledge, he said, it's not about better or worse. They're both pathways to the same thing. It's just a matter of which one works for which person. And so right now he's explaining path of action, and we're going more into, and he's going to explain more in these verses how that, who that path of action for, how it works, why it works, and we'll get into that. But in talking about actions, there was another main point in the last 3 years we did, and that is it possible for us to live our lives without completing any action? So, Tisha, is it possible for us to just exist without taking any actions whatsoever? Tisha? No, okay, maybe we lost her. Jeet, is it possible to live life without taking any actions?
Jaguru, no, because then you aren't going to be able to get any work done in your life. Jaguru?
Right. You could potentially just sit there and never do anything, but then nothing is going to happen in life, and you're not going to be able to survive that. Right? At the very least, you need to get up in the morning and figure out how to get food. You have to go through all of those things. Any action and anything you do, even just getting up, breathing, walking around, you're doing actions all day, all night, even if you're not consciously thinking about them. It's not possible to survive in this world without doing something. So that's where we're picking up this time. So this, the verses today were sent out, and hopefully you all have this in front of you. And Yukta will be reading it for us. So Yukta, when you're ready.
You should thus perform your prescribed vetted duties, since action is superior to inaction. By ceasing activity, even your body maintenance will not be possible. O Arjuna, his whole world is bound to action, except for actions sacrificed unto the supreme war. Being free from attachment, perfectly engaged in actions for the purpose of sacrifice. In the beginning of the Brahma created humankind along with duties, and said, prosper in the performance of these yajnas, or sacrifices, for they shall bestow upon you all you wish to achieve. By your sacrifices, the celestial gods will be praised, and by cooperation between humans and the celestial gods, great prosperity will reign for all. The celestial gods, being satisfied by the performance of sacrifice, will grant you all the desired necessities of life, but those who enjoy what is given to them without making offerings in return are barely safe. The spiritually minded who eat food that is first offered in sacrifice are released from all kinds of sin. Others who cook food for their own enjoyment fairly eat only sin. All living beings subsist on food, and food is produced by the rains. Rains come from the performance of sacrifice, and sacrifice is produced by the performance of prescribed duties. The duties for human beings are described in the Vedas, and the Vedas are manifested by God Himself. Therefore, the all-pervading Lord is eternally present in the acts of sacrifice. Pause. Those who do not accept their responsibility in the cycle of sacrifice established by the Vedas are sinful. They live only for the delight of their senses. Indeed, their lives are in vain. Jai Guru.
Jai Guru, thank you for reading that for us, Sukta. So we've read chapter 3, verses 8 through 16, and we're picking up with basically just, we're in the middle of this discussion on action versus inaction and what that means in this path of work. So first we'll go, as we normally do, line by line, but before we start that, does anyone have any questions? Anything that wasn't clear? Okay. If not, we'll start with that first line. Lord Krishna says action is superior to inaction. What do we think that means? In what way does he explain that? How is action superior to inaction? Jimmy?
Can you please repeat the question?
How is action superior to inaction?
So, Jagira, if you take any action, you're basically like taking like responsibility or like helping others and like who need help, versus like if you're not like I guess helping or anything, like you're not being like Jagira.
Right. So you gave an example, right? If someone needs help, let's say, in that case, it's very clear. If you take an action, you can do something that you're supposed to do to help, because that's, what Thakur has told us to do. We're supposed to be helping people, doing good in this world. You're not going to do any good if you don't choose to take an action. So that's one way, is while action does bind us to this world, without taking it, we're still making a decision. We're still, by not acting, we're still kind of bound to the fact that we aren't helping in that kind of situation. What other ways can we think of that action being superior to inaction? Aditi?
Jaguru, can you repeat the question?
How else can we think of action being superior to inaction? What other reasons might there be for that?
Jaguru, actions are also superior to inactions because when you do something, you learn better than not doing anything. Jaguru.
You're right. We learn from our actions and we do that. And then, also in addition to that, what we established right from the last part, from what we read last time before coming into here, it's not really possible to live our lives effectively without taking any kind of action. It's not going to work out very well for you if you try to do absolutely nothing. So that's kind of multifaceted in that way. But the other thing that's mentioned here, so then that we know we have to act in some way living in this world. In this first line, it's also mentioned that we need to perform prescribed Vedic duties. So, Saraswata, do you know what that's referring to when it says prescribed Vedic duties?
Sure. I think what it means by prescribed Vedic duties, or I feel like those are like the Vedas that are written like in the scriptures, and like the things that we should perform. Sure.
Right. So in the Vedas or Hindu scriptures, there's an explanation of what duties people have, and it's based off of how old you are and what stage of life you're in and your occupation, and everyone kind of has a role in society, and so it's broken down in that way. For us, we've discussed this before. Thakura has told us, and we've read some of this advice in various places from him. But for you all, students as you all are, what does Thakura say is our main duty as he told us as his disciples and as and all of you as students? What does Thakura say our role and our duty really is? Pratyush?
Jacob, our duty right now is to learn and to know what is good and what is not good, Jacob.
Right. It tells us that our duty in this context, as we're reading this and we're talking about performing prescribed Vedic duties and all of that, we can interpret that through the lens of what Thakura said our duties are. So for you all, it's to be learning, it's to be figuring out what's right and what's wrong, and ultimately what he tells us to do is to be good people. So think about any time it says prescribed Vedic duties, figure out what this means for your life. Think about it in terms of our duties to be good people and all of that advice that Thakura has given us. Okay, so moving forward here, in that second line, he talks. Lord Krishna discusses how we remain, how we go down to the world, and how we can be free from attachment. So, how do actions both bind us to this material world, and how do actions also potentially set us free? Punch?
Javier, can you repeat the question?
How do actions bind us to this world and also give us a pathway to be free?
Javier, I think that action guides us in that it gives us like a purpose and it gives us ways to sustain ourselves and have a good spiritual development, Javier.
Yeah, so action can guide us, and specifically mentions the kind of action. How can we, I guess, view actions or partake in actions that will be a way for us to not be bound by the reactions to it? What do we do when we're performing actions that can keep us from getting mired in our material world?
I think you can do that by kind of making sure that you don't get attached to material things and trying to be independent and thinking of Thakura so you don't get attached, Jacob.
Right, we've brought this up before, but it's this idea of non-attachment, and how we achieve that is by kind of putting all our actions onto the Supreme Lord. So in our case, when we dedicate or think of our actions as happening for our, because of or through Thakura, we're able to get into that mindset of non-attachment to our actions, and that in itself can set us. Okay. Then from here, we've established action as something that's necessary, that we need to do to move forward, and then this detachment is how we keep that from binding us and use action to attain the spiritual knowledge. So then Lord Krishna goes into discussing other Hindu scripture, and he talks about how Brahma created humanity and all those things, and how sacrifices, yajnas, are performed, and how that relates to this whole kind of cycle of action that he's discussing here. So in that, what does Brahma say about sacrifice? What is said about sacrifice by Brahma in that 10th line? Aaron? Aaron, are you there?
I do. What was the question again?
So in that 10th line, what does Brahma say about sacrifice and how that helps us? How does in the lines about 10 through 12, how do offerings and sacrifices, as he's discussing, how does that lead to something good for us? I'm not sure we can come back on another question. Ansh, do you have an idea?
Jagara, what was the question?
So lines 10 through 12, we're talking, goes through how Brahma created humankind along with duties, and he says, prosper in the performance of these sacrifices. The Lord Krishna describes through those 3 verses how what the relationship between sacrifices and ultimately prosperity is. So what does he say is that relationship? What does sacrifice lead to, and why does it happen that way? Or what's prompting that?
I think that, Jagger, I think that when you're doing those sacrifices, or when you're doing those duties, everything that you're trying to achieve, mainly spiritual knowledge and aspirations, those will be achieved. And that's because when you were sacrificing and doing your duties, all of those, the gods are pleased by your actions and mindful actions, so they'll reward you for that.
Yeah, you're right. So in Vedic Hinduism, and you'll read in a lot of Vedas, you see it in a lot of Buddhas that you might go to for other gods and things like that. There's this idea of you do sacrifices and pujas and all of these things for the gods, and then you get things in return. And spiritually, we're inclined, and we think about it as if we do our duties and what we're supposed to do as Shastra guides us, then what we're ultimately seeking as our reward is that spiritual progress. So we're thinking of it in that way. But here Lord Krishna is describing it specifically as we're doing an action for the gods and we get this result without that kind of other knowledge there. So in this case, this might be, in this context, he's talking about specific sacrifices. So then he says, if you're doing all of these, when you're enjoying things in the world without dedicating it to the gods, without the sacrifice, then that in itself is sinful. You're not going to get spiritual progress here. So, through these lines, he discusses, doing these sacrifices, that's going to get you progress, that's going to get you what you want. If you do your actions without dedicating, then we know that you're not going to get anything, any spiritual good from that. So through all of this, can we tell what kind of person would because he said these are pathways that are for specific types of people, for specific needs in their lives. What kind of person do we think is going to benefit from this path of action? Is there a lot of knowledge that is needed for this? Or what kind of, or can you just do this without really having to know very much about, like we discussed where we come from, who we are, and how we should conceive of God and what comes after. Bobby, what kind of person do you think this path of work is for?
Jagu, what path were you mentioning again?
This one that we've discussed, where he's discussing you just take actions. He's discussing this kind of sacrifice. You do sacrifices to the gods, and then things are given in return. And as long as you just do your duties as prescribed by the Vedas, and you do these sacrifices, and you dedicate what you're doing to the gods, you're going to move forward in life as you need to. So what kind of person is this pathway for?
Jagiru, I think this pathway is for people who want to get out of the cycle of happiness and sorrow, and for people like us who want to follow Thakra's teachings. This is something that we would follow. This is the pathway that we would follow so that we can achieve liberation and become one with Thakra.
Right. Right. So someone that one wants to get out of the cycle, which we ultimately talked about. We want happiness, and that's why we do this. So it's for those people, and then specifically it's for people who are when you're starting out, they don't have. If you don't have very much knowledge of, you don't need very much knowledge of scriptures, you don't need very much knowledge of spirituality. This is something that we can start with. And so with this, we're out of time, and we'll go more into depth about this path when we pick up the later verses. I believe today is Vinmaya by Aron. Jai Guru.
Jagu, today I'm fortunate to express my thoughts. So far for me, things are going great with my life, thanks to Thakra's support. Over my head and fuel on my plate, which I am extremely grateful for. Not only that, I'm lucky enough to go to school this year and have my first year at high school, thanks to Thakra's help. So far it's been going great. He helped me so much over the past couple months, I don't know where I'd be without him. Thank you, Jagu.
जय गुरु परांदे ठाकुर महाराज आज मोर सेवापाड़ी अच्छी सेवापाड़ी तो वर्ष को थरे मिलूँ तेणु बड़ आनंद लगुच माने मिस भी केवे केवे लगे कि बहुत दिन सेवापाड़ी मिलनी बट एटलिस्ट से जे अभावटा इट्स somehow gets fulfilled when you to NSM एठी आसे कि जी पारुचे से ठाकुर अन्य जिनस जमी मंदिर दरकार हेल्प कर पार्चे सो दैट काइंड ऑफ गिव सम लेवल ऑफ फुलफिलमेंट आज मोर भाव केतटा जिनस शेयर करी गोटे कथा हूँ दिनलिपि आमर वाक्य संयम विषय देयर इज एन क्वेश्चन सो when this was introduced, I started thinking about what exactly this means. So you're supposed to talk less, or you're supposed to just talk moderate? In what context we're supposed to practice this? So I kept thinking about it. Then I started practicing one way, which is maybe I should listen more actively. The active listening is more about whether there is a meeting or something, without the giving a full attention, that undivided attention jota kuhaje. So I supposed to do that, and I am trying to do that, so that when I'm doing that undivided attention, giving that undivided attention, automatically I tend to speak less, because when that attention allows me to think more constructively and pause and respond. And that's really, that active listening is extremely, is helping me quite a bit. And also it benefits in a quite a bit in terms of, the other person is feeling that, okay, I'm paying attention, I'm not distracted, I'm not doing something else, and kind of not to have an eye-to-eye contact and pretending listening, but I'm not doing anything. That's not happening. So that has reduced quite a bit. So say is a active listening. That is one way that I'm trying to practice of Pakya Sanjamas, and it is helping me a lot. So seta gote kotha. Ditiyo kotha hochi amaro ठाकुरଙ୍କ पाखକୁ आसु आमे सेवा चालछि. It's sometime it gets monotonous, sometime it's most of the time actually it's starting to transition. कि खुशी लागुछि. खुशीटा आसुछि जेतेबेले मनरो माने चिंतारे क्लारिटी आसुछि. It's starting to feel that there is a clarity in my thinking, there is a clarity in my prayer. आउ से जेतेबेले मनरे जेते लेवल रो क्लारिटी अछि, सेते लेवल रे ठाकुर बेसी सुंदर देखा जाउछन्ति. सो जेतेबेले लागुछि कि धर प्रेयर स्वत वंदना कला बेले किंबा ठाकुर पाखरे मंदिर माने तांको रूम रे बसला बेले किंबा एठी मंदिर रे भी आसले, मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम आई हैव टू फील कि ठाकुर एते काई सुंदर देखा जाउनांती. व्हाई एम आई लुकिंग नॉट दैट वे द वे इट वाज लास्ट टाइम, but it's actually not Thakur. It was happening within my thinking and my clarity of thinking. So that level of clarity of thinking जेतेबेले होउची, जेतेबेले भक्ति भी बढ़ुची और सेतेबेले ठाकुरଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ कनेक्शन टा भी बढ़ुची और ठाकुर सेति सुंदर भी देखा जाउछन्ती. And then it also helps in my personal sort of few things in my personal life, which is it gives me the ability to take up certain challenges that maybe I was afraid of taking before. Even though I don't know all the solutions, I don't know all the answers to a lot of problems, but at least it gives me the courage, the guts to take it up. However, if that problem is worth solving. So without doro laguni by apprehension laguni, I kind of know this would be the path that I want to go, and I just go ahead and execute it. And when I take that step, one step towards it, it automatically the other steps or solutions keeps coming. So that the fundamental of getting to that level, that started to really organize my thinking in the clarity thinking. से clarity of thinking टा जतबेले होची, जतबेले परंकर जो दिन ध्यान धारणा बा पूजाटा जते कनेक्शन जो दिन रहुची सेही दिन सेते भलो होची. So everything that we do, everything that I do, it just really starts from that morning puja. And morning रे हमरा जो दिया है नित्य कर्म किंबा सेवा किंबा ध्यान, it starts from there. If it starts well, then everything else goes well, because throughout the day it really kind of puts it in the right cycle. So seta gote hochi mane I'm starting to realize and I'm starting to practice that. My sadhana bhajan re gote badha hochi is a feeling of dinolipi. I'm nowhere in the leaderboard anymore. But the thing that I feel it is happening, meaning I'm doing all my nitya karma, and not that the only thing is just taking that paper and filling it out. If I don't do it, it's not that it's making me feel that something that I'm missing. That scarcity of something didn't happen, it gets even amplified within myself, irrespective of whether I feel the inalipi or not. As an example, if I don't do sakala dhara kriya na kari parli, I feel different. I feel not very good, and but that is what I wanted to feel throughout my spiritual practice. Am I really feeling that scarcity? Is it because that I'm not feeling dinolipi, or is it not happening with me? So leave that paperwork aside, but is that motivation is coming or not? So that motivation is starting to come, and I feel different. And then when I feel that scarcity, then it gives me even more motivation to go and do it, to correct it. So seta hochi there is a level of awareness जोटा कि सेटा होची माने ठाकुर पाखे सबले एवरी डे द नेक्स्ट डे ठाकुर पाखे प्रार्थना जनाई कि द पूर्व दिन जहाँ भूल होता लेट मी नॉट रिपीट इट अगेन एंड आई ट्राई टू डू इट एंड आई डोंट ट्राई टू जस्ट सॉल्व डू एवरीथिंग द बेस्ट द नेक्स्ट डे आई जस्ट टेक वन थिंग and correct it for the next day. So that progress is very slow, but that's okay. I don't try to conquer everything. And whatever I'm trying to do, I'm being satisfied. There is a lot more to do, but my comparison, above always said, my comparison is not with anybody else, but just within myself to correct just one simple thing and feel good about it. And सेटा मु करिवा को चेष्टा करछि and ठाकुर पाखरे सबले प्रार्थना कि से जे अभाव रे जे खुशीटा दान रे जे दान कले जे खुशी अभाव रे जे खुशी and that happiness is something different. Even if I achieve everything, that level of happiness doesn't come. So I all pray to Thakur ki tankor ei आशीर्वाद थाउ हम समस्त को ऊपर संघर उन्नति उत्तरोत्तर उन्नति हो. जय गुरु. जय गुरु. हमर द्वितीय अधिवेशन सरीवा को जाउछि. प्रभु ठाकुर आपन को भोग निवेदन पाई निमंत्रण करछि. तापरे भोग निवेदन पर समस्त भक्त भाई मान को प्रसाद सेवन पाई निमंत्रण करछि. जय गुरु. तापरे ठाकुर आज आमर संध्या पूजा 6:30 बेले निगम स्मृति एनएसएम रे हबो. सेति पई ठाकुर आपन को निमंत्रण करछि. जय गुरु.
जय गुरु. परमरथ्य गुरुदेव.
जय गुरु अदिति.
जय गुरु.
Jai Guru, I invite Sri Sri Thakura, Maya's Tides, and young aspirants to the next Wise session to be held on October 23rd. Jai Guru.
जय गुरु. परम आसंता रविवार 23 तारीख दिन मोर मधुमा आदित्यर संघपाड़ी अच्छी मु भक्त भाई माँ और पिला अपन सहित अनुरोध करुँची पूजा जोगदे पूजाटी को सफल मंडित करेंगे. जय गुरु.
जय गुरु. ठाकुर महाराज आज समस्त भक्त भाई माने पिला माने आज मोर सेवा पाली जानते अजाणत जहाँ भूल से आपण पाखे समस्त भक्त मान पाखे क्षमा प्रार्थना कर. जय गुरु.
जय गुरु। दयामया श्री चरणे एहि निवेदन, दयामय श्री चरणे एहि निवेदन, निरंतर तव नाम करिबि स्मरण, निरंतर तव नाम करिबि स्मरण, इहा छड़ा न रहिबा इतर कामना, इहा छड़ा न रहिबा इतर कामना, एहि मात्र भिक्षा मोर, एतिकी प्रार्थना, एहि मात्र भिक्षा मोर, एतिकी प्रार्थना, तुमे प्रभु मोहि दास देहि अहंकार, तुमे प्रभु मोहि दास देहि अहंकार, एकमात्र जीव प्रबल संस्कार, प्रभु एकमात्र जीव प्रबल संस्कार, एथि लगी जेबे घरे न मिले मुक्ति, एथि लगी जेबे घरे न मिले मुक्ति, तथापि राखिबि मने अनंत ध्रुपति, प्रभु तथापि राखिबि मने अनंत ध्रुपति, तुमारी दृष्टि भीतरे तुमारी जगते, तुमारी दृष्टि भीतरे तुमारी जगते, पड़िथिबि जहि तहि तुमारी इंगिते, प्रभु पड़िथिबि जहि तहि तुमारी इंगिते, ध्वंस करे रचनार अभिनव रूप, ध्वंस करे रचनार अभिनव रूप, देखी देखी आसी जीव असल स्वरूप, प्रभु देखी देखी आसी जीव असल स्वरूप, मिलाई न पारे जीवे सब जंत्री स्वर, मिलाई न पारे जीवे सब जंत्री स्वर, तब नामे पाई जीवी भंगा बेड़ा मोर, प्रभु तब नामे पाई जीवी भंगा बेड़ा मोर, सुणु मन सुणु भिथिब अहंकार, सुणु मन सुणु भिथिब अहंकार, तुमे प्रभु मोहि दास एतिकी संस्कार, प्रभु तुमे प्रभु मोहि दास एतिकी संस्कार, प्रेममय श्री चरणे करि निवेदन, 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 तुम जय गाउथिबि सारा जीवन, प्रभु तुम जय गाउथिबि सारा जीवन,
Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai. Jai 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 Guru, 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 Jai Guru.
Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai, 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 Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai जय गुरु 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 जय जय श्री श्री ठाकुर देवानंद बोले गोपाल श्री श्री महाराज जय जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु।
खाली गोटे कथा क्विकली कहीदे जे असुविधा तो कहले दिनलिपि कथा तेणु मुझे देखुली दिनलिपि ए मासरे किसी भाई माँ मैंने प्रतिदिन करके बंद कर देइछन्ती अनुरोध कर कंटिन्यू करंतु माने इजी वे टू डू दैट इज प्रतिदिन सोया जीवा पूर्व जस्ट कर दियंतु माने 15 मिनट 15 सेकंड 20 सेकंड 15 सेकंड लागुची यदि आपन प्रोफाइल ठीक कर देइछन्ती तो बेसिकली नो मेक इट लाइक ए प्लेज दैट मु जनरली फिल अप न कला पर्यंत मैं सोई नहीं एमती करंतु गोटे सब दिन अभ्यास कर आप देखो 15 20 दिन पर्यंत अभ्यास हो सोया जीवा पूर्व दिन फिल अप करी शोबी कारण देखिए गुड़ाए अनेक भक्त माने अपदिन करके बंद कर दीजिए मसे कारण जब आप सब सप्ताह कि 10 दिन थे करेंगे आप केमी मन पड़े कौ दिन आप कौन कर सब मैंने भूल कथा आप पकेबे ना दिन लिखे हाँ से विषय जय गुरु
जय गुरु जय आउ कथा भाई जन चाहूँ आम केन्द्र आसला माने प्रादेशिक सम्मेलन हम सब सेवा आमर सब भाई मैंने सब जीवे सम्मेलन को जो मैंने सब जाऊे किसी सेवा जी चाहूँ नापी केन्द्र शाखा संघ जन की जी सभापति को जन जी विधि अच्छे केन्द्र भी जानते समझे सब शाखा संघ सब जन के आसते अनुमति आसते तो जो मैंने किसी अप्लाई कर केन्द्र संघ किसी नापा तो अप्लाई थ्रू सभापति प्रधान जन भी जी एप्लिकेशन जहाँ दौते जय गुरु ओके सो विल गो टू अटेंडेंस अजित भाई नांती अमिताभ भाई
जय गुरु भाई
पद्मिनी माँ
जय गुरु भाई
जय गुरु अंजना माँ अनु भाई
जय गुरु भाई
श्वेता माँ
जय गुरु भाई
जय गुरु अश्विनी भाई आज पूजा थे संगीत माँ मंदिर थे जय गुरु बरदा भाई
जय गुरु भाई
जय गुरु सोनिया माँ
जय गुरु भाई
जय गुरु पिजु भाई लिखते आफ्टरनून रही मैंने कुछ सेकंड रही लिखते विनय भाई
जय गुरु भाई भाई बसते ऑफिस कम टी उठी जाइछन्ती जय गुरु
माँ जय गुरु जय गुरु विश्वजीत बेहरा भाई
भाई जय गुरु
जय गुरु तापरे विश्व आश्रम जो थे विश्वरंजन भाई जय गुरु लिपिका माँ
जय गुरु भाई
जय गुरु ब्रज भाई जय गुरु
जय भाई
जय गुरु रश्मि माँ
भाई जय गुरु
वृंदन भाई
जय गुरु भाई
जय गुरु पद्मा माँ
जय गुरु भाई
जय गुरु चिन्मयी माँ
भाई जय गुरु
जय गुरु देव भाई
जय गुरु
जय गुरु लीना माँ
भाई जय गुरु
देवाशीष भाई
भाई जय
गुरु देवी प्रसाद दास भाई
जय भाई
जय गुरु सोनाली शर्मा
जय गुरु भाई
जय गुरु दीपक भाई देवी श्यामल भाई जय गुरु स्निग्धा माँ